Guys, how's it going? Today is June 22nd. Happy solstice. We're finally in summer. I wanted to start off talking about the full moon that's coming up this week. There's actually a really busy week astrologically. Since we last spoke, Jupiter has gone retrograde. Sun has moved into Cancer. Mercury goes direct today. On the 24th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. Neptune goes retrograde 2 days after, and then on Sunday, Venus moves into Leo. So there's lots of movement this week. And another thing I just want to call out, because it's going to be building over the next few days when it reaches its apex on July 4th, is that there is a T-square forming in the sky between Mars, Uranus, and Saturn, that's kind of unpleasant energy. Already we know Saturn, Uranus is kind of like who's going to blow shit up faster. And then when Mars gets in the mix, Mars square Uranus tends to be like accident prone energy, and mechanical breakdowns and failures and stuff like that. And then Mars opposite Saturn is standoffs. It's like, I want to do this, and just constantly being blocked in being able to move forward. So this is kind of like this T-square energy here is like when you read about like those 15 car pileups on the freeway, because there's a big malfunction, some sort of mechanical malfunction that leads to things being completely blocked. They're also in the fixed signs. So that means that people may be more stubborn than usual, which actually kind of comes into play in the energy of this full moon. So you may find that people are very sort of fixed in their ideas or fixed in their positions. And what I think we're going to find is that logic and reason are not necessarily the way to move forward right now. Or rather, you're not going to argue your way into convincing somebody to break their stance. It's going to have to be done. Like when I was reading the aspects here, the thing that came into my mind is you catch way more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? And so there's very much this energy about how you go about getting what you want and really trying to tap into more of a feeling side than a rational side. Now, that said, let's take a look at this full moon. We have here the sun in Cancer and the moon in Capricorn. Neither one of these signs or planets really likes to be in the sign that they're in. Moon, likes to be soft and warm. Its domicile is Cancer, so this is its fall. So because Capricorn's like really cold, calculating, wants to know how it's going to get to the top, wants to know how it's going to succeed, wants to see ambition, movement forward, progress, and which is different. That's the funny thing, is the difference between Capricorn and an Aries. We love movement too, but we'll take any movement. It doesn't matter which direction it goes. Capricorns must always move forward. And the moon doesn't like that, right? Because it goes forward, it comes back. It flows forward, it flows back. And so here there's kind of this energy. People with moon and Capricorn can be a little bit hard, a little bit colder, because it's kind of like the emotional landscape has kind of a layer of stone on it. Doesn't mean they're not loving, it's underneath, but it's a little bit more concrete how they deal with their emotions. So we already have kind of like a flip on the energy. No one is where they're supposed to be. Each one is in the other side. And the Sabian symbol here for this moon is, they're actually really interesting. So the Sabian here for this moon is a group of people outfitting a large canoe at the start of a journey. And some other people paraphrase it as a party entering a large canoe, right? So we have that water element here in Capricorn, which is called like the goatfish, because it's a bit water, bit earth. And then on the other side, we have the sun here at this degree. And this one is quite interesting. It's a cat arguing with a mouse, right? And I was reading sort of the two. So we talk here about a journey. This one is people getting ready to go onto a journey, right? Get a party being fitted to get into a canoe. You kind of have to convince people to get in, right? And so it's very much about getting people's feelings on board, wanting them to feel safe about where they're going, and maybe also like giving someone a justification or a plan, like we're going here and this is what we're going to do, right? You would never just invite people to a canoe and be like, get on board. That is a kidnapping, right? You have to lure people or not lure people, but seduce them almost. It's like, we're going to be going here and then we'll be doing this and the water should be nice, like it'll be reassuring. Because if you think about, let's say you're walking through the mountains and you see some people with a canoe, what would it take to get you on board, right? And so think about that kind of process, because that's the kind of way we need to approach other people right now. It's not very rational, because on the flip side then over here where we have the sun, and these are both cardinal signs again, remember, where we have the sun is a cat arguing with a mouse. And what Dane Rudyard kind of spoke about with this degree is that it's about rationalization of an old way of being, right? Of a mechanism that is classic, right? Cat and mouse games. Cat chases mouse. And now the cat is arguing with a mouse, which means that the mouse has stood up for itself and the cat may be defending its behavior. And so he talks about this being a rationalization for why the old is valid. And over here we have a journey. We're on board. We're moving forward. We got a group of people with us. But in order to get those people on board, it's not going to be about rationalizing an old way of being. It's going to be really about showing them, appealing to their heart space about why this is going to be a fun thing to do, right? So if you're in the process of like having to convince anybody or having to have some difficult conversations, rationality is not the strategy that I would advise right now. You want to paint a picture of where you're going, why you're going there, what you hope to achieve, what you think the journey's going to be like along the way, and why they should get on board. Or just tapping to like it's going to be a beautiful day and you'll feel a sense of freedom, as opposed to this is a way more efficient manner of reaching your destination, right? Really kind of play on the emotional heartstrings right now. Now, a couple other things I wanted to mention. First, the nodes are moving into, this is weird, he has them at 10, most people put them at 9. In the last couple of days, the nodes have moved into the third decan of their journey through Gemini and Sagittarius. So what that means is the first 2 chapters are done, and now we're entering into the final chapter before it then moves into Taurus, because the nodes go backward through the zodiac. So this is kind of like the final chapter of whatever our Gemini lesson has been. Now, in typical screenwriting, in the first chapter, it's like the status quo. You set up like you start to develop like what the problem is, or like where things need to change. In the second chapter, there's the crisis moment, the turning point. Things fall apart, and the main character realizes that they have to make some change in order to accomplish what they want or to fix whatever has happened. So that second chapter is always sort of the crisis point. And then when you get into the third chapter, it's about how you start to resolve and get towards that, like whatever the problem was that was introduced in the first chapter, that's how you start solving it. So the nodes, whatever our Gemini story has been, and it'll depend on where your house is, or what house Gemini falls into and what planets you have there, of course. But it's very much about like how you belong to your community, communications, short-term trips, families, brothers, sisters, things like that. Or like antennas for new information, gathering information. We start to now move into the third chapter of that. And this is sextiling Mars and Leo. Now, Mars and Leo, we saw almost immediately was about like, just do it. Like we spent a whole time in Mars and Cancer figuring out what needed to be done. And then as soon as Mars moved into Leo, we all kind of got a real like strong push of like, okay, enough thinking, enough whining. It's like, we got to do it. And so really starting to move forward. And so these two are moving in, are working in harmony. So all of this energy is really going to help start to resolve that third chapter or set things in motion. Now this is also, where is it? This is trine and sextile. So sextile here and trine here to Jupiter, which just went retrograde. So anything that has to do with collective healing is really favored right now. And how you're going to, again, sort of seduce people into collectively healing is by tapping into their heartstrings. Not a time for rationalizations about why it's okay to stay in that position. It's really time to embrace where you're going and why, right? And it's very much about, and so if you find yourself like sort of making excuses for not changing behaviors, and it can be like, maybe you got like a doctor's report that says, hey, if you don't stick to this diet, these problems are going to happen. And you may be like rationalizing, no, it's fine because I'll do this, that, and the other. And what this full moon is really here to say to you is like, nah, it's time. Like, get on board because we're going to be moving forward and leave sort of the rationalizations behind and really embrace the nurturing aspect of it, the emotional aspect, why this is good for your heart or why this is good for making you feel better. So we have two placements, as I mentioned, this Saturn Uranus square, which is going to be with us all year. So it's nothing new. But again, when this moves into T square, mark that date on your calendars, July 4th. Oh, funny. Just beware that people are going to be particularly inflexible in that moment. We have this other thing at this full moon here, which is that Pluto is exactly opposite Venus. Now, Pluto opposite Venus is very much a control aspect. You feel like you can either have love or control. And so you may find that you or someone you're dealing with is a little bit more manipulative, starts playing games like, oh, well, if you loved me, you would do such a thing. And they may be using, because remember, this is that sort of like justification aspect. You either use rationalization or use the emotions. So we may find people trying to emotionally manipulate us in order for them to have control over a romantic situation or a financial situation. Or it may be you. Either way, look for, what's the word? Ricatti. Like, I can't remember the word. When they're like, if you loved me, you would do this. Well, I did that for you, so now you owe me things. Anytime someone is trying to like make a deal with you or put you in a position of less power or take away your power or your decisional power or emotionally manipulate you, that's this kind of energy. And so it's useful to just be aware of, again, don't respond with arguing because they won't hear it. It's going to have to be a little bit more of a clever negotiation of, again, think about how would you convince somebody on the banks of a river to get into a canoe with you willingly. So let me stop there and go to the cards. Hello, Aries. How are you? Today is June 22nd. Today is my sister's 40th birthday. Just thought I'd share that. So the astrological part is before, so I'm going to jump right into the tarot and ask for the overall energy for Aries for the week of June 22nd. Let's say, when should we call through it? All right, let's do through the 27th. June 22nd through the 27th. Overall energy for Aries, June 22nd to the 27th. I will also be traveling again next week. Or no, is it next week? Yeah, on the 28th. I'm going to be in Greece. So I will try and get a reading out for that Saturday beforehand. If not, it may have to be on the famous July 4th that I mentioned. Okay. All right. insecurity. So it's interesting that this one is really centered around the heart, especially because of the astro piece that we mentioned about, right? That it's really about appealing to people's heart. And here's kind of like in that image of like the cat and the mouse, or the cat arguing with the mouse, the old ways really showing up as the devil. In Italian, we say like you have a devil on your shoulder, when it's like talking you into doing bad things, or like being your worst enemy, through self-talk, of telling you, giving you information that is not useful to you, that makes you feel bad. So this is very much that like the devil in you can come up and sabotage where you want to go and where you want to move forward. So thinking about that journey that you're taking to a new destination with a new group of people. And then there's kind of this like little devil on your shoulder that's trying to keep you where you are and keep you from getting on the boat. Or keep you from getting on board, right? It's going to give you 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't. So be careful of your self-talk. This is also kind of like that Pluto-Venus energy, like I said. Be careful of your self-talk. Be careful of people playing games, trying to manipulate your emotions. That I feel like that could be very strong this week, especially since there's Neptune in retrograde. So be careful of like emotional communications meant to manipulate you. Just be aware of those. And in the case of, because remember I said like this is a time when rationalization isn't going to work. It's more about how to play on people's heartstrings. So, and there's all the strings coming out of the heart. So if you're not doing it to someone else, like if you need to, like I said, make a business presentation, that's probably the best way to do it. If, however, you're dealing with personal things and people are starting to make like emotional deals with you, you step into a more rational space and be like, hey, does this make sense? Is this fair? So when you feel you're being emotionally manipulated, go into a rational place and break down the thing, what they're offering to you or what they're saying to you. All right, can I get the challenge energy for Aries, week of June 22nd to 27th? Way too many. Challenge energy for Aries, week of June 22nd to the 27th. Okay. So the aloneness, this is the hermit, seeking something, right? On a journey, headed somewhere. It might not be necessarily clear where you're headed. Right now is very much about the journey, and it's a word that shows up a couple of times in the Sabians for this week. This always reminds me of the driving at night scenario. Like you don't necessarily have to know exactly where you're going or see the entire path. You do need to have like an idea of what it looks like in the future and what the immediate steps are. And so there's a lot of talk about this journey, where we're headed, where we can also like get ourselves off track. Kind of like making ourselves feel alone on this path that we're walking. But it may just be like this sense of aloneness that we have on this new journey, since it is new and we're taking, like I said, we're walking into a third chapter. So everything is relatively new and different, which is why it feels uncomfortable and can also feel alone at times. And there somewhere in our lives, there is either a self-talk or another person who is trying to hold us down, hold us back, and make us think that where we're headed is not right. So be very conscious and aware of that. And again, it may be yourself or it could be someone around you. It's interesting that they both have, like the devil's carrying his little pitchfork and then this guy's carrying his little staff, right? So, so the person, like it may not be obvious that what they're up to, the shady communications, and it may come as an illuminated person, like, I'm just trying to help you out, but really what their intentions are not necessarily good. All right. Interesting. Master Jesus. He doesn't come up quite frequently, does he now? You are on the path of light, love, and forgiveness. Father, healing is possible at this time. So again, mentions the path, mentions the journey, and it's very different energy, right? So it kind of says to me like, believe, regardless of like what you're being told about where you're headed or what's possible for you, believe that it is possible, because like the big guy just came in to sort of give you the thumbs up. Okay, what do we have here? Peace in reverse. One more card, please. And regeneration. All right, so this is very Plutonic here. But like I said, it's all about like lots and lots of newness. Burning things down in order to start over. I want to just check what this peace in reverse here means. This one's obvious. Here we have a 5 and here's a 10. Now this to me is very interesting because remember I mentioned like as we move through the first chapter, second chapter, and third chapter of the North Nodes, that there's the second chapter is always the chaos point, right? And to me in my mind I was thinking that's a 5, which this is a 5. And then here we're at the regeneration, which is a 10, which is where the North Nodes are right now as they enter into the third decan of Gemini. So it's very much about moving out of the second chapter, right? We recognize the problem, or we see what has to change. The crisis point has been enacted, and now it's time to start moving into the resolution phase, this third phase of whatever story you have going on there. So let me just see this real quick. Okay, so now is the time for calmness and well-being in spite of temporary conditions. Even if there are dissonant notes in the music of your life, all that means is that you must go within and fine-tune the extraordinary instrument that you are. Find harmony within yourself and don't look to the outer world to provide certainty. Interesting. This too shall pass, and once again your life will be filled with beautiful music. So like it's, be wary of what you expect the encouragement you expect to get from others, because you may have to get it from yourself right now. Let me get a few more cards here. Can I get 3 cards for Aries, June 2nd to the 27th? 3 cards for Aries. Okay, 2 of Wands. So like figuring out what lies ahead. There's kind of, remember I said like imagine you're standing on the side of the mountain and you have to get into, or the water, and you have to get into the, let me start again. You're standing on the side in the mountain on the side of the brook, and someone needs to convince you to get into the water. What's it going to take? And again with the staff, there's 3 people holding staffs here. Okay, Ace of Pentacles and Knight of Wands. Right, so like starting, like rushing in to start over. So I think there's going to be a big shift. My feeling is it's going to come after that T-square. That T-square is kind of like when things come to a head and break open. So there's two things, right? Because of course you can be sort of like on either side of the energy. You can be the person trying to convince the person getting in the boat, or you can be the one who needs convincing to get in the boat to take the rest of the journey. Check in with yourself, right? So be rational with yourself on your reasons why you're doing things that are driven by your heart, right? So, because here we have this, so this is like the passion coming rushing in, but we have the pentacle here, which is very much concrete. Like we need to know why we're doing what we're doing before we want to rush into it. And so there's a lot of emotion going on right now where we can be battling demons from our past. We can also be battling people around us, giving us poor advice. We can be battling our own sense of loneliness and not belonging or not feeling like we're part of a family, because this speaks to father healing also, and we're in Cancer. Or there may be familial manipulations that come in. You may feel like you're abandoning your family because you're walking away from something of the past. People in your family may be making you feel that whatever that next step you want to take is the wrong step. It's not right for you, that you're leaving them behind. And you are, but you are supposed to, because whatever it is that whatever that step is, whatever that next step that you have to make, that you're afraid to make, goes deep to your heart. It's something you very dearly want to do. And it's very much part of this rebirth that you're living, right? This light that you're walking to. And so someone may be making you feel bad about wanting to walk towards that light, wanting to get on that boat, wanting to take that journey, but it is inevitable. And so anyone trying to kind of like talk you out of it, other people, yourself, your family, whomever, it's primarily an emotional manipulation because they want to keep things the way they are. They don't want things to change, but things are what absolutely 100% going to change either way. Like this boat's leaving the dock. And you want to be on it. If you're dealing with like business things, like I was saying in the astrology piece, sales pitches, you want to have the rational piece wrapped up in something that stirs the emotions, right? So like be wary of people emotionally manipulating you. But if you need to sell something, the way you want to do it is through a very subtle and clever emotional manipulation. Because of course, with the Sun in Cancer, our feels will be a little bit higher. But anyone trying to hold you back, someone is trying to pull you back, right, into some way of the past. They don't want you to move forward. They don't want you to leave. They don't want you to do something that's new. They don't want you to do something that's like goes to your deep heart. And you may feel like in order to go after what you want, you have to like burn the house down. And you do. And so this sense of unrest that's here will move shortly. Again, like I said, it's building it's a tough T-square that's coming. Plus the Venus and Pluto opposition is not great. So there's going to be like lots of turbulent waters right now. But if you stay the course, like something great is building. Because like this is the way that people are trying to like build the path for you. Right? Like, oh no, it looks there. But look at what the path actually is, right? And so again, when you feel like you're being emotionally manipulated, stick to the facts. What am I really doing? What does it really look like? Why are they trying to keep me here? But be aware that that's it. Someone does not want you to leave, and someone does not want you to move forward. You may be afraid of leaving the house, of leaving a job, of leaving a relationship, of leaving your family, of leaving patterns behind, in search of something that you really love, and people are telling you don't deserve it, it won't work, blah, blah, blah. And the cards are here to say, yeah, it will. And yeah, it's gonna feel like you're burning down things, but you see the flowers that are growing inside the tree there? That ultimately what is being born that you can't see necessarily yet, because remember, early phase, we've just moved into this third phase now. You might not see it yet, and so it might just look like a whole bunch of, I'm walking away from something that I know for something brand new. But that's where you're meant to go. So you may feel this pull in this period of like moving forward, being pulled back, moving forward, being pulled back. Check in with yourself constantly, and make sure that you are right with you, and you know what you want to do, and you're doing things for the reasons that are correct for you and not correct for someone else. Let me get one final word of advice here from last day of Mercury Retrograde. Advice for Aries, June 22nd, June 27th. And that's really what this forgiveness is, right? And you see there's the two blue that come up here, between Jesus and the flower. Fifth chakra energy. Healing thoughts, but like forgiving yourself for what you think you may be doing. Okay, and here we get the coins, abundance. Let me read this for you. Okay, finally, all your hard work, whether it be through, yes, okay, that's weird to repeat things twice in the same sentence, but fine. Finally, all your hard work, whether it be through sheer hard work, prayer, or positive affirmation, has paid off. You have been blessed and are now supported by the universe. Prepare to reap the benefits, for a cornucopia of abundance will be showered upon you. While this abundance may not appear in the form of energy we call money, you will be amazed both by what comes to you and the unique ways in which it appears. Receive the bountiful gifts the universe bestows upon you with gratitude. This is a great time to start a new business venture, shake hands on a new partnership, or on a deal that's being offered. Keep your mind focused on the positive. Do not deviate into negative thinking, and you will never go without. Heads or tails, you win. And the incantation is, excuse me, I understand how I receive. It's how I think, how I perceive. My thoughts and wishes of what could be manifest in form and come to me. Your desires are coming to fruition. Stay positive and open to new things. No need to focus on money. You will be supplied with what you need. Be careful what you wish for and understand the law of attraction. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this message has been coming up for some time now about be wary of the things you think, be wary of the things you allow yourself to believe. And again, watch out for those emotional manipulations that may be coming at you. Or if you work in marketing, as we do, emotional manipulation is the way to get that deal signed, in a subtle way. Anyway, hope this was helpful. Sorry about the delay. Wishing you a very lovely week, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.